Do witches really fly around on broomsticks? We all know monsters exist. My question is, what do they taste like? All of these questions you can find the answer to on this Paranormal Life! Hello everyone and welcome back to This Paranormal Life, the comedy paranormal podcast where every week we investigate a brand new paranormal tale, claim, case, or beast and come to a conclusion as to whether or not it truly is paranormal. As always, I am joined by one of the most dangerous hunters in the paranormal game, Kit Greer Mulvenna. If you are one of the biggest hunters, then you could maybe help me with question number 2, is not only capturing, but eating a monster?
Yeah, well, it's a pretty salient question, actually, because we've touched on it before. I am a monster hunter,
Sure.
a dangerous one too, but I am vegan. So I think you've mentioned before, one of the only monsters that I actually could get a nibble of would be the vegetable man of West Virginia.
Yeah, most of our paranormal adventures involve Kit kind of tracking the creature, managing to capture it, photographing it, taking all the scientific measurements, and then right when he's about to set it free, I step in and go, I'll take it from here, bud.
Yeah.
Sharpening a set of kitchen knives in my hands.
Opening a disposable barbecue.
Because the thing is, right, once you've taken all the pictures and like given your big thumbs up for the newspapers, like you captured King Kong,
Yeah.
what's there left to do except eat the guy?
No, I would say kind of taxonomically file it away in a museum for preservation for future generations.
Right. How about I just file it away in my air fryer for about 25 minutes?
Okay. They can keep the bones. I don't eat the bones. They can keep the bones.
You can put him in a museum, like the dinosaurs.
Yeah, how do
you
you
can
think
rebuild him.
I assume they ate the T-Rex before they put the bones in the museum.
I think it's fine. I think just if you're going to do this, though, make sure when you take the pictures before you eat the thing, you didn't have your thumb on the lens.
Right.
Because you don't want to eat it and be like, all right, and now we have all the photos to prove we captured him.
Yeah.
And then you realize that, it was a little blurry and you can't actually see that you captured the thing in the first place.
You're like sitting around the campfire. Oh, I couldn't eat another bite. Oh, yeah, let's see how these photos turned out. Oh, no.
Shit. Uh-oh. But it made me think, if I had to serve up a paranormal cryptid at a restaurant, what would I serve? And I did a little bit of brainstorming, and I settled with a chupacabra.
Oh, my God. You pushed back this recording by 45 minutes, saying that your script was almost done.
Think of what I wanted to
That's
call
what you were
it.
thinking
Yeah,
of?
I had to think of my
God.
fictional restaurant where we serve cryptids. What would you eat? You'd eat a chupacabra with a side of Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, my God.
That's not what we're here to talk about today, which monsters would be the most delicious. We are here to investigate a brand new paranormal tale.
Indeed.
And unfortunately, today's case does not involve any cryptids at all. In fact, it doesn't even involve ghosts, ghouls, spirits, zombies, witches, anything that we would usually cover on this podcast.
Rory, we already did an episode on the 2016 election. We can't go back.
This is a paranormal mystery. One of the strangest paranormal mysteries I have ever come across. And you guys are in for a treat, because this week we are investigating Gary Sudbrink, the Air Force captain who began receiving mysterious paranormal phone calls. But from who? We're about to find out right after a word from today's sponsors. And a reminder, you can get every episode of this podcast ad-free on patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. Our story today takes place not long ago in 1993. 27-year-old Gary Sudbrink was an Air Force captain who'd been working at a medical pharmacy in San Antonio, Texas. In February of that very same year, he decided to go on an unannounced, surprise trip to visit his family in Long Island, New York. So without telling anyone, he booked his ticket and headed to the airport. Even though he never told anyone about his trip, it seemed that someone or something already knew. While waiting for his flight at the airport, he was approached by a strange man with a clipboard. Excuse me, sir. Can I ask you a few questions today?
Sure.
What is your final destination?
New York?
What is your name?
It's Gary Sud.
Spell it for me, letter by letter. This is a bit of a weird interaction, right?
Yeah.
You know, usually when someone tries to get you to spell your own name to them, that's a sign that you should probably leave, especially if it's a stranger. Yeah.
I mean, nothing against charity, that's great. But if you live in a major city, Rory, you know that you can't stop to talk to everybody with a clipboard.
It's true.
Or else you'd never get nothing done.
Yeah. Sometimes people just use clipboards to make themselves look more important. And you're like, well, usually I wouldn't stop, but this guy's got a clipboard. So he clearly has to document something important.
And he's frowning, so I better stop.
Yeah. As a paranormal investigator, I don't appreciate any situation where a member of the public is trying to retract my personal information. All right?
I don't know if retract is the word you're looking for, but extract.
Extract, retract, whatever it is, I don't appreciate it. All right? I went to a Starbucks the other day just to order a little coffee, and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, and by the way, what's your name? What's your name for the coffee?
And Rory started reading out his Proton Mail email address, which of course is cryptographically secure. And they said, no, your government name.
I was absolutely, you're not getting that.
You left your iced frappe on red. You left it on the desk. You ran away.
I said, oh yeah, no, I can give you my name. So my first name is Mindja. My first name, are you writing that down? You didn't write it down on the cup there. My first name's
They're like, yeah, we got it. All right.
My second name is Business.
Next customer, please.
Mr. Business. That's what they call me.
You know what I pull whenever they ask me to fill out the clipboard? They're like, hey, we're collecting people's names and email addresses for this great petition. It's a really fantastic cause. I go, that's really great. And they go, if you wouldn't, oh, for sure. Oh, I'll put down my name and email address. They hand me the clipboard. And then when I hand it back to them, they're like, what did you, I've CIA style black markered out. I've redacted all of the names they've gotten that day.
Names.
I'm like, yeah, you can't go around collecting people's data.
They're like, all right, well, at least let us have your name. Okay, so first name's Mindja. And you're like, all right, never mind.
Yeah.
And the second name's Business.
My email address is mindja at your own business.co.
Biz. Mindja at yown.biz. It's my email address. Unfortunately, at the Starbucks later, they did say they have an iced caramel latte for Mr. Business, and I had kind of forgotten what I'd said, and I didn't end up getting my coffee in the end.
Yeah, and they were doing like a prize draw for people who kind of gave their email address that day too, and the guy in the queue after you won instead of you.
Yeah, he got a Tesla.
Yeah.
But Mr. Business went home empty-handed, unfortunately. These questions from the strange man in the airport continued, all while Gary studied his appearance, trying to figure out who this man was. He was well-dressed and well-groomed, so he assumed it was a salesman or maybe a surveyor. Eventually, Gary's patience wore thin, so he excused himself and left for his boarding gate. But once he was on the flight, things only got weirder. Before the plane could even take off, another man sat beside him and immediately started asking more personal questions.
Now I'm not even a military man, but if I'm Gary,
an Air Force captain, I believe,
then the slightest hint of suspicion, I'm checking my 6. I'm checking my 9. I'm checking my 3.
Yeah.
I'm checking all the hours of the day.
Check the clock. Do a 360.
Just do a quick 360.
Because you've come to Gary in his element. He is the Air Force, and you're about to interrogate him on a plane.
He's cackling like Seto Kaiba himself about to reveal the game-winning Yu-Gi-Oh card.
You are interrogating a baby in a crib. That's his dojo. You're interrogating LeBron on the court, you know?
You ever try to tickle a baby and it's oh, he broke my wrist! Because it's his dojo.
That's why they say you don't try and take candy from a baby.
They know nothing but candy.
Yeah, the highest form of human enlightenment is a lollipop.
Yeah.
So if you try and take it from them.
It's like trying to take a bone from a dog, yeah.
Actually, now I'm remembering the phrase, I think it's as easy as taking candy from a baby. I think they're actually quite weak and you can kind of just slap their little hand away.
LeBron on the court was a fine analogy.
So as I said, this second man showed up and began asking even more personal questions. This only stopped when an air hostess asked to see the stranger's ticket. Interestingly, the man's ticket didn't match his seat number, so he was forced to move. However, instead of going to his assigned seat, he just moved one row back and continued to ask questions. How many siblings do you have? What's the name of the Air Force base that you work at? How much blood is in a human body? Once again, the air hostess had to move this strange individual even further back in the plane to his assigned seat. And that was the last time Gary saw him.
Yeah, unfortunately, this was pre-9/11, so before the days of air marshals on flights. Otherwise, this guy would have got hip-tossed out the emergency exit of the plane.
This is only a weird part of the story because it implies whoever this strange individual is, he's so determined to ask these questions and get answers that he not only sat down in his seat, presumably knowing he was going to be moved eventually, and then tried to get away with sitting just one row back so he could ask more questions, and was moved a second time.
Yeah.
So whatever these questions were, he felt like it was important enough that he had to try and get them at any means. Now, when Gary arrived at his parents' house in Long Island, he was feeling a little unsettled by the strange men. So he decided he would blow off some steam and call his old buddy Mike, who still lived in the area.
Hey Mike, it's Gary. Surprise, I'm in Long Island.
But Mike seemed confused. Yeah, Gary, I know you're in Long Island. You called me yesterday. Gary was confused. He hadn't told anyone about his trip. That was the whole point. But Mike swore that yesterday he received a call from Gary saying that he was coming to New York. Mike said that his voice on the phone was weird, as if he had a stuffy nose or was coming down with a cold.
Hello, it is Gary. Gary
Sudbrink. Whoever Mike had talked to yesterday, it wasn't Gary Sudbrink. Gary didn't know what to do at this point. Was someone impersonating him? How did they know that he planned this trip? Who were these weird guys at the airport? Unfortunately, he didn't have much time to figure it out before the mystery got even stranger. Because at 10 p.m. that night, the phone in his parents' house started ringing, and there was a strange, deep voice on the line. At first, he thought the call was a prank by his brother Stephen, but when he reviewed the caller's location, it was simply listed as, quote, out of the area. Now, we have a recording of that phone call, and we're going to listen to it right here on the podcast.
Wow, how do we have a recording?
Because I think this phone call even interrupted his call with Mike.
Okay.
So he was already feeling strange and suspicious enough that he was like, I'm going to record whatever's going on.
Okay.
So luckily enough, he managed to catch almost essentially the start of the conversation. Now, before we play the call, I do want to say it is a little bit creepy, but don't worry, the spooky edge is really taken off due to the fact that Gary is from New York.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say. All right, let's hear this phone call.
There's Gary Sudbrink there.
Yeah, who's this, Steven? Are you playing games with me or what? Huh? Steven, if you're playing games, I'm gonna kick your ass.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Huh?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Yeah, this is you, Steven, you idiot. You're pissing me off. Jerk. I'm gonna get you on... Let's see what it says. Review. One new call out of area. Is Steven out of the area?
When are you going to be back from Texas?
Wait, say that again?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Wait, hold on. Is Steven out of the calling area or what?
No, I know.
What do you mean you don't know? He's in Queens. Well, who are you talking? I don't know who the
Hello?
Hello?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Oh, be quiet, Alpha. Sorry, would you see that again? Being impersonated by what voice?
Hello?
Hello?
There's Gary Sudbrink there.
Why is he stuttering?
Yeah, what is your question? I'll answer it.
how long are you going to be back from Texas?
So
All right, we're pausing the
we're
there for a
pausing
second.
midway. I just have to air a theory, which is that
Okay.
this is practically like a tape recorder that he has like 3 lines on.
That's
All he has is hello. How long are you gonna?
that
So how
sentence
long are you
doesn't
gonna be
mean-
back from Texas? And is Gary Sudbrink there?
That line
and
that-
you were being impersonated by the other voice.
Yeah, how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Doesn't really make
any
it doesn't
sense.
particularly make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange line. But yes, that is, we'll go on to theories later, but it is worth noting, yes, he has kind of a selection of lines to choose from, it seems like. Even though sometimes it feels like some are delivered in different ways or have a stutter in them. It's quite strange.
Yeah, you would have to forensically go through, but and at this point, clearly a voice changer is being used because it's too low to be a human register.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a limited number of phrases. So has the audio been processed and then it's being played back over a tape recorder, kind of Bart Simpson style, hey mother, hey father, here I am in Camp Granada style.
Right.
Okay, let's see if any more lines come to the top here.
How long?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Right. When am I coming back? Is that your question? Oh, is that your question?
So how long are you
How long am I going to be back from Texas? That question doesn't make any sense.
the other voice?
You should know that question, the answer to the questions, because you seem to know more about me than I do.
Are you an intergalactic person?
Weird
Are you
question.
a space alien?
Sounds like he hung up.
I can't believe this.
He hung up, Gary.
See if he comes back.
All right, I'll hang up.
Oh, so he dialed Stephen during it.
Who?
He dialed his. Who else was on the line there?
That was his dad.
Oh.
I think his dad heard that there was someone on the phone, so he picked up. You know how like house phones used to be able to have like.
I was gonna say,
lines?
he used to be able to do that. Do you remember? That was some weird shit.
Yeah.
Why did it work like
They'd
that?
be like, get off the line. Someone listening to your conversation.
It was so weird. Yeah,
was
you'd
really
hear someone
strange.
breathe, and you'd be like, it would be your sister listening to your conversation. You'd be like,
Yeah.
get off.
I do love how kind of a cliche this phone call to a Long Island family is. That at one point there's clearly some kind
Yeah.
of paranormal creature being like, "You're being impersonated," and someone's like, "Who are you talking to?" It's like,
Yeah.
"I don't know who the I'm talking to. Shut up, ma."
Hey, do we know any impersonators, Ma?
Yeah,
What? You know impersonators.
impersonators.
You know the way Georgie down the deli does a great Frank Sinatra? Anybody who could do an impersonation of me?
Pretty strange call to receive, right?
Extremely. I mean, I'm glad that his family were there to sanity check him, because if you were in a cabin on your own in the woods in the middle of the night, this would be a creepy call.
Yeah. Now, as we said, at first Gary thought that this was his brother playing a prank on him. But not only was the call coming from out of the area, but his brother Stephen was really not known as a prankster. This wouldn't be something that he would have done. I think the scariest part of this call is the voice repeating the line, "You're being impersonated by the other voice."
Sure.
Maybe by itself, that wouldn't seem so scary, but a reminder that Gary's friend Mike had just claimed that he'd had a phone call from Gary that had never happened before.
Yeah.
He'd been impersonated by another voice. Now for Gary, this line, "You're being impersonated," was not only scary because of Mike's telephone call, but it also unearthed a memory from years back of a strange incident that his brother had experienced. Several years prior, Stephen was on his way to a wedding in Long Island. While driving down the road, another car pulled up and began driving beside him. Behind the wheel of this car was Gary. And out of the blue, Gary started making disturbing, twisted faces at Stephen, almost like he was trying to get his attention while driving.
What?
Then quickly afterwards, he sped off in the car in another direction. Now here's where the story gets weird. Gary wasn't going to that wedding. Not only that, but he didn't even have a car to drive in Long Island. And what's weirder is the make and the model of the car that Gary was seen in was the exact same car that's parked at his home in San Antonio, Texas, almost 2,000 miles away.
Yeah. Bit of a long commute to make a practical joke.
Yeah, very strange. Now, Gary and his parents spent the next few minutes trying to decipher the strange call, but they didn't have long before the phone rang again. That's right. Call number 2.
Yes, speaking. Yes.
He's getting tired.
Can I answer any questions for you? I'm not back yet, no.
He's so
It
sad.
sounds like he's grumpy. Yeah. Oh, when you coming back?
Let me answer. First, you would tell me, where are you calling from? Yeah, why don't you tell me where you're calling from?
You didn't need to call back, bud. Who is this?
What do you mean, who is this? You should know who it is. It's me, Gary. Let me ask you this question. Where are you calling from? Okay, I'll be back.
Whoa.
Excuse me?
He said, keep an eye on the skies near
I can't
Orion.
hear too well.
The full moon.
Yeah, there's a full moon out. That's true. Hold on, let me switch phones.
Gary is hooked now. He's like, all right, I'm in. What do I
yeah.
need to know?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Now, who are you?
Keep an eye in the sky, he said.
Keep an eye in the sky?
Yeah.
Yes, Kenny, I talked to him. Had a sighting.
Okay, hold on. Say that. Repeat that again.
Near Orion.
Holy mackerel. Tonight or this one when?
The full moon.
Holy mackerel.
They told
Show double of you.
Repeat. He hung up.
Gary's dad was about to be like, brothers, I saw you in the sky 3 nights ago. Take me with you. Yeah, I wanted to bring up because Gary said last time, I thought that was interesting. He said, are you an alien? You extraterrestrials?
Yes.
And then immediately Gary is like, he's like, let me talk to him. I saw something.
Yeah, that's Gary's dad. I think his name is Bill, maybe. We're going to get onto that in a second, but yeah, I think Gary has his kind of Air Force captain like hat on a little bit.
Sure.
So even in the way he speaks, he's like, I didn't get that. Repeat. You know, he's got his military
Identify
hat on.
yourself. Repeat. Yeah.
Whereas his dad in the background is like, are they here? He's got like googly alien sunglasses on. He's like, I'm ready, masters. Take me with you. It's a very different kind of approach to the calls. A little bit different this time. We're hearing some stranger sentences, such as keep an eye on the skies, near Orion, full moon, double of you. Strange stuff. And I just want to remind everyone, you know, Gary Sudbrink, he is an Air Force captain. So I assume that's one of the reasons why he's kind of taking this seriously.
Right.
Because if the voice was calling up being like, is your refrigerator running?
Yes.
He'd be like, all right, yeah, my refrigerator's running, so I better catch it. But if they're talking about the skies, then he needs to be careful. Then he needs
Okay.
to be like, okay, there might actually be something going on here. Maybe this is a threat or a warning or something. Now, it was only a few minutes later when the phone rang again. And this time, as we said, Gary's dad, who had been listening on the other line, decided to join the call and try and figure out who this mysterious caller was. Which, as we're about to hear, is extra hilarious because he immediately decides it's an alien and he wants to start talking to him about UFOs.
Stephen, this is not funny, you know.
It's not Steven. Hello? I had a UFO experience in West Virginia, which you probably know. And I know that you're an intergalactic person. Can you speak a little louder?
Let me speak to him, Dad. I guess, I don't know what.
All right, I'll hang up so you can talk to me. He wants to talk to you.
Okay.
I don't know if you have a mouth, but try and
Hello,
hold it
can I
close
help
to
you?
the receiver close to your mouth.
Yes. Yes, that's me.
He really likes Gary.
I guess it's not Stephen. I believe it because I'm getting static.
Hello?
Keep an eye on the sky.
Well, if you're floating miles above Earth, there's going to be static.
Should I go out right now?
The full moon.
Okay, see, I'm not sure where Orion is now, but we'll go outside.
Show double of you.
It was show double from me.
Repeat that again?
And he hung up.
Mm.
Very weird.
Don't really know why this guy can't get across everything he needs to say in one call instead of 3, but
Right.
Fine.
He just calls back and he's like, hey, I know that this is a 5th time, but I would just be kicking myself if I missed any of this information. So just to reiterate, is this Gary Sudbrink? Yes! He's like, yes, it's Gary, yes. Cool, man. When are you getting back from Texas?
And is it just so I don't did I say Orion already? Yes! Right, show double of you, Orion, keep an eye on the skies. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's everything. I'm sure I haven't forgot anything.
I love that Gary is so sick of it. He's like, yes, now please don't call back here again. I can't have this. In the background, his dad's like, let me talk to him.
Yeah.
Let me talk to him. Real like retired parents who anytime someone calls, it's like, hey, what are they up to?
Yeah.
Tell them to come over. We can put the football on.
Yeah.
They just want to hang out with anyone. Now, the Sudbrinks waited around all night for the phone to ring again, but it never did. In fact, the 4th and final call didn't come until the next day.
You're supposed to be outside looking at Orion.
He never
show
specified-
double of you.
Remember? Show W. But the 4th and final call didn't come until the next day. And if you had any doubt that this thing was from another planet, you won't after you hear this. We're going to play out the last recording and talk about some theories right after a quick word from today's sponsors. All right, it's time to listen to the 4th and final call. This
He
one
says, is Gary Sudbrink there? I'm going to smash your computer into a million pieces.
When you call someone, you just want to make sure it's the right person.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
Is he going to repeat everything we've already heard up to this point?
No, he's not going to repeat everything, but you do want to know who you're talking to, when they're going to be back from
What?
Texas, and then maybe just clarify 1 or 2 more times if it's still Gary.
Why was he so sad? There's Gary Sudbrink there.
It's the second call.
When are
He
you
calls
getting
back.
back
He's
from
like,
Texas?
when are you getting back from Texas, Gary? It's like, I'll be back soon, I promise. Oh. It's got real vibes of like your partner calling you when you're at work. And It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I gotta stay late. What?
Yeah.
When are you coming back? When are you getting back from Texas?
It's like, look, I know you have nothing on today, but I
Yeah.
have a lot on. Well, okay.
Did you see Orion today? It's like, yeah, I don't have time to look at the stars. Okay. Is this Gary? Yep, it's still Gary. Yeah. You do feel a little bad for this thing, whatever it is, weirdly. But I don't know, maybe we won't feel so bad after this 4th call.
Yeah, here's a coffee. All right, I know this is Gary. Yeah, I realize at this point it's Gary. I've woken up. I was really sleepy
Yeah,
before.
this is the next morning. He's like, yeah, now that I'm fully rested, I need to talk to you about your extended car warranty. It's like, that's what it was about? Yeah, when are you getting back from Texas?
Yeah, have you been involved in a crash recently?
Yeah.
Maybe entitled to compensation. Jesus Christ.
All right, here it is. The 4th call. All right, pause.
God damn
All right.
it.
Look, I don't know what you... When I call you, do I not say, hey, is this Kit?
No, you don't. You don't. Now,
should.
what I will say is we have to remember it was the 90s. This was a house phone
We're calling
for
a
his
house
parents'
phone. Exactly.
phone. But this is I haven't said this since we were kids. You would call because ironically it is his parents' house. So he has to be like, is Gary there? Is he coming out to play?
Yeah, you used to have to do that.
It's show double of him tonight. Is he coming out to play?
Will the real Gary Sudbrink please stand up? Please stand up. Yes, you did have to ask that when you're calling a house phone.
Yes.
So this voice is like, hey, I'm about to say a bunch of really weird shit. Before I start, I just want to make sure, triple check this is Gary. And it's like, no, this is his dad, Bill. I'm so sorry, sir. Could you just put Gary on the phone for a second? He's like, yeah, Gary, here you go. It's something for you. Thank you so much, sir. Show double tonight. The demon moon rises. It's like, still Bill. It's still Bill. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. If you could pass on this message to Gary, demon moon rise, show double tonight. That would be great.
Yeah, he's not in. Can I pass on a message? Oh, Jesus. No, I'll call back. It's honestly a little much to relate to you, Bill.
Yeah, I'll call back 16 times tonight and ask the same question. when he get back from Texas?
How long he get back from Texas? Unfortunately, I am, although I'm not that old,
Yeah.
32, but I am old enough to have had to live how embarrassing it was having a girlfriend when I guess I did have a mobile phone, but I think mobile phones were expensive enough that we still
Crazy.
called on the house phone.
Oh, Jesus.
And so, like, she would call the house, and the rest of my family would be like, "Ooh!" And I'm like, "Shut up!"
I'm imagining, 15-year-old Kit with the wired telephone in his hands while he
Right.
lies on the bed twirling the wire. So, Orion's pretty cool tonight, huh?
And my mom was like, "You've been on for 2 hours. Get off!"
What time you get back from Belfast?
But people don't know how competitive it was in a big household for the phone. Because if I wasn't trying to talk to my crush, I was trying to play RuneScape over dial-up.
Yeah, and you couldn't do both at the same time because the internet came from the telephone lines. So if someone wanted to use the phone, you would disconnect the internet or vice versa.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
So my mom would be like talking to her sister who lives in Canada she hasn't seen in 3 years.
Right.
And I would try to log on to RuneScape to play with you. And she'd get booted off the phone. She'd be like, "You." I'm like, "What'd I do? You don't understand.
I'm trying to increase my fishing
There's
level,
a
mother.
quest,
Yeah.
mother."
I remember that. I think, didn't your mother's sister, she like disappeared after a plane crash. So she was gone for like 12 years or something. They thought she was dead.
Yeah. No, and actually the up thing is she got one call from her dying mobile phone in the middle of the wilderness. She got me because my mum wasn't in, and I was too busy playing RuneScape. I forgot to pass on the message.
She was given the courtesy of one call from a Guatemalan prison before,
like, yeah.
she was executed by the state.
I'm playing RuneScape with one hand. Like, yeah, I'll definitely pass on the message. Okay, yeah, bye.
Yeah, sorry, Mum. Someone sent me a YouTube link to Crazy Frog, and I wanted to see what it's all about. I mean, damn, that frog is crazy though, isn't he? Look at him go.
She's like, "Did anyone call today?" I don't think so.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. I feel like by the time I got a girlfriend, we were on the iPhone 12, so I didn't have to worry too much about that. I'm twirling my charging cable to the point of beyond repair.
But people
chatting.
don't know the stress of your crush texting you and you are out of text messages.
You're out of data.
So you would have to go with cash to go pay for a top-up card to
man.
top up your mobile phone.
Yeah, and if you typed out more than like one page of text, you were charged for 2 texts.
That's 2 texts. So it's like, all right, your phone is like, all right, Romeo, that's 2 texts right there.
I remember during a particularly dramatic breakup in high school, I had to send a 12-pager.
Oh, shit.
Which, that sounds like a lot, but I think it was like 4 lines was a page. That was like all the text you could fit on that. So if you wanted to like also say, "How are you doing?" That was like, that's another page.
It's because Rory was
We're charging
starting
for
his
that.
breakup text with Oxford English Dictionary just defines a relationship as when 2 people get together. You're on text 3 already.
The dictionary defines the word cheater as just like terrible start. No, I remember I was much more of a MSN Messenger kind of guy, Then you have time to think.
They call him the Casanova of MSN Messenger.
Because I know of a few lines I could send to get the chicas excited.
Right.
I knew all the emojis.
You were sending Taking Back Sunday lyrics, putting them in your username.
Oh, yeah. Not just because I couldn't afford any more texts after the big break. All right, we're getting distracted here. This is the 4th and final call that Gary received from this mysterious individual. Sure, he's going to ask if Gary's there.
Yeah, I've come to expect it.
You have to
Yes,
clarify.
this is me. Can I ask why you're... Yes, can I ask why you're calling? Can I please ask... Yes, this is.
Oh, we come.
We come.
Oh, I knew
Say
it!
that
They're aliens! We come to be within this planet. In this planet.
Leave?
Oh no!
This is whirring sounds. to visit the many,
To be contacted.
to be contacted as the same with you. Yeah, I don't know what to
Gary
say.
has pissed himself at this point. He is.
And the whirring is
Whirrings.
going.
I gotta think about that.
The many. To be contacted. As the same with you.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been listening to you, and I've had contacts with you.
Beware.
Off, Bill. Beware. Government interference.
Government interference? You have? Please explain what type of interference.
Whirring noises.
Visitations to be disrupted by them. Appears
Oh, he's getting sleepy again.
sun will rise on dark side of
The sun will rise on the dark side of the moon.
no.
The world know.
The sun will rise from the dark side of the moon.
What branch of the government? What should I do?
When the alien doesn't know what to say, he just starts whirring.
Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them.
Okay. Is that good for me or bad? They hung up.
It's bad.
You gotta love this straight shooting East Coaster.
Pretty wild stuff. We heard a lot of new things there. We come to be with this planet. Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them.
So did they? Because I understand for the purposes of creating this podcast investigation, you are going to have paraphrased a lot of information in this investigation. What has happened up to this point? Why did they think there was aliens in the beginning when they hadn't said shit? And now it has turned out that they are aliens.
Yeah, it weirdly, the first call, which didn't talk about aliens at all, it just asked a bunch of questions. They were like, "Are you a spaceman?" Mm-hmm. Really quick. And I'm glad that you asked that question, Kit, because as we kind of move into the realm of theories here of what this could be, there is more to the Sudbrink family than you would think. As we picked up before, Gary's dad seemed weirdly excited about the possibility that it was aliens.
Sure.
Even more so than Gary was. And that's because Gary's father and his uncle, Bill and Tom Sudbrink, claim to have had an experience with a strange object in the sky on May 28th, 1989.
Yeah, he wouldn't shut up about it.
He actually mentioned West Virginia, a sighting in West Virginia, which is where this took place. The two brothers were returning from a vacation in West Virginia when outside their car, they spotted a strange object hovering above them in the night sky. Now, assuming it was just a plane or a helicopter, the pair continued their journey, but every now and again, looking outside the window to see that the object was still there. Whatever this thing was, it was following their car as it drove along the road. Eventually, the pair decided that whatever this thing was, it needed to be documented. Luckily, even though it was only 1989, the two men had a video camera with them. So they pulled over the car and set up the camera as fast as they could. In the end, they only managed to film around 4 seconds before the craft disappeared.
Sure.
Kit, you're a guy who's into old-timey photography.
Okay.
You know the limitations of this equipment at the time. And 1989, I'm assuming setting up a camera is a 2-day task.
Okay, we're getting into the realm of the podcast here where we look at video evidence, photographic evidence, and usually whoever is presenting the evidence is highly pessimistic about the technology capabilities of cameras at the time. And the person who's sitting in the hot seat across from them is extremely optimistic about what was possible. So
Right, I could be hosting a case taking place in 2014, and I'd be like, did they even have cameras back then? You're like, yeah, they absolutely did.
So I take your point. We're talking 89. I mean, we're talking about
We're talking about those old-timey booths where you put a blanket over your head.
No, it's not gunpowder. It's not any of that. It is electronic camcorders, probably analog film ones, maybe the early days of digital film.
Yeah, but you gotta like set up a tripod and put the tape
No.
in. Is there a free tape?
Probably
no, you're gonna have to
handhelds, actually.
rewind the old one and retape over it. Well, we should probably check what's on the tapes before we record.
No.
So-
But I will take what you say about, yeah, I mean, the nature of filming something is very unpredictable. By the time you take a camera out, it could be possible that it's too late and you're about to miss the thing.
Home video entertainment, home cameras, VHS cameras at this time were designed to film birthdays and weddings. All right? They
not
never
wrong.
anticipated that one of those weddings could be going 200 miles an hour in the night sky.
It's not a wedding.
They never thought that one of those weddings could be from another
All right.
galaxy.
Some of them had zoom.
Is Gary Sudbrink here? When he
Yes.
come back from Texas?
No, how long he come back from
How long he be back from Texas?
Just show me the video.
There is no video.
What?
There was only 4 seconds of footage. All right, so I
4 very crucial seconds.
I searched and I couldn't find it. We do have 19 more phone calls if you'd like to listen
That's
to
not.
those.
It's not how the internet works. The video, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. 4 seconds of video on the internet. Good luck, bud.
You're never
No
gonna be
way
able to
we're
search for
finding that.
I can't find it.
Fine.
Look, we're dealing with a time where Bill and Tom, after getting this, they probably mailed it. They probably sent this tape to individuals to be looked at. You didn't upload it to YouTube or your Instagram or your Snapchat.
Well, look, it doesn't matter ultimately, does it? I mean,
You're right.
it would be pretty interesting, and there is a possibility that these aliens are like, okay, where should we land? Well, there is a guy who's a big fan of our work in Long Island, so we could go near. Yeah, maybe it's connected, but it doesn't have to be, because, Rory, I have faith that after everything that's unfolded to date, I'm assuming that in the days that followed, Gary and his dad went outside and got abducted.
Ooh. Well,
And that, because it was the full moon, and that was exactly what it said, Orion, maybe even a laser beam, like,
that's what the whirring was, yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
something crazy is about to happen anyway.
They said a lot of things though, didn't they? They said like C
Not
double of
really.
you. They said maybe it'll happen. We might just
And I
drive
mean,
by.
the whole thing of him being impersonated and then saying it's C double of you, so like,
That was cool.
if
Yeah,
that was a
remember that?
TV show, like that would be crazy to bring up that plot point and then not expand on it. So something's going to happen.
I just
that's
don't want you to
nuts.
get hung up on the idea that they're gonna get abducted and like we're gonna see like selfies.
They
and
don't
shit
need to
with
get
aliens.
abducted. I would take footage of a craft, photo of a craft, and yeah.
Well, I can give you something, Kit, because this 4 seconds of shit hot footage was sent to UFO investigator Bruce Maccabee, who, yeah, sure, he ultimately decided the footage wasn't clear enough to confidently state it was a UFO, but this was only the start of Bill and Tom's interest in UFOs.
Sure.
They both eventually joined what's called as the Long Island UFO Network to investigate more sightings, which is only relevant because after one particularly dramatic sighting, where I think witnesses claimed a craft actually crashed into the Earth in 1992, the president of the Long Island UFO Network claimed that he started receiving threatening messages from strange computer-altered voices.
Interesting.
Right? This UFO organization that Gary's dad and uncle are a member of, their leader has had calls like this before from strange individuals threatening them about talking and investigating UFOs.
Yeah, it is odd. You know, I do think this time period in general is quite interesting. I don't think it's actually one we've had a lot of cases in, because the late 80s, early 90s, it wasn't a time of like absolute UFO fever. A lot of maybe the naivety that surrounded this kind of UFO investigation was probably long gone. But we do need to figure out where these are coming from, because unfortunately right now, these extraterrestrials are using a very human technology to talk to us. And they are speaking English and they sound like guys with their voices pitched down. Right. So if we are getting to a point in our story, and if we're trying to say that these people, these beings may be alien or extraterrestrial, we need to know a little more about what's going on.
Hey, you know, I don't want to have a go at these aliens for how shit their voice is, because we don't know what they look like, right?
Yeah.
There's a world where up on a craft, the guy on the other end of that telephone is a bubble.
Yeah.
And it's taken thousands of years of high-tech alien technology to be able to emulate anything that can even sound like a human's voice.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's a bit low, isn't it? And they're like, it's a bit low.
Yeah.
We don't even have a throat.
Yeah.
We communicate through bubbles.
It's like the way we got given a lovely Bigfoot collar.
Yeah.
And, you know, this thing.
Don't blow it, please, because it sounds just horrible.
The Bigfoot's going to be like, what the f***? That sounded like shit.
Yeah.
But, like, it's going to get his attention.
What kind of accent is that?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't matter, but we can be perceived and understood by big feet.
It is possible.
Right.
But I think I've been very judicious in my decision to leave it this long in the podcast before saying,
Whoa, before,
this is premium hoax material, isn't it?
Well, before you just go on, let's talk about a few more paranormal theories. We get into
Right.
it.
Well, for sure. I'm just saying
Right.
the technology would lend itself to
Sure.
a hoax.
And before we start poking holes, and getting into the nitty gritty and stuff, is Gary Sudbrink there?
All right, you need to stop.
When's he getting back from Texas? These are the big questions we need to ask ourselves.
Sure.
The two main paranormal theories are, one, that this is some kind of alien, spaceman, extraterrestrial, trying to make contact with Gary and his family for some reason. The other option is that this is, of course, an interaction with an official MIB,
Right.
a man in black. Because we've talked about men in black a lot of the times on the podcast before. They're these kind of men in suits with sunglasses and hats that show up after paranormal events and kind of shut witnesses down. You didn't see anything. Hit them with the neuralizer. Do intimidating phone calls, wiretaps, all of that sort of thing. But when you really investigate the phenomenon of men in black, I mean, we did a whole episode on them on the podcast before. In a lot of stories, they're not even human.
Yeah.
They're like floating, or they have no pupils in their eyes. And in a lot of stories, more often or not, they sound a lot like this like low batteries in a Furby.
Yeah.
They're kind of just talking like this. Just saying all the vital information they need to before they just hover down your driveway and are never seen again.
Yeah. Who's to say that, men in black are government agents that enforce the idea that aliens don't exist? Why not cut out the middleman? You don't need government agents. Just have aliens in disguise stopping people from believing in aliens.
Right. You probably, have to focus pretty hard on the disguise, because if it's the aliens we were talking about earlier, it's a bubble.
Yeah.
It's a bubble with a hat on and sunglasses.
Yeah.
And you could just pop them if they kind of get in your way too much. I think the main flaw in this theory is that if it is an MIB, he's saying a lot of shit he shouldn't be saying.
It's not the typical MIB message, is it?
Right.
If anything, it's the opposite. It's revealing information about intergalactic life. It's saying, we are intergalactic.
Yeah.
We are from here. You need to look to the skies. So literally go looking for us.
Yeah. It's kind of like, if this was an MIB, I assume he hung up the call and he was like, wait, did I tell him to look at Orion or not look at Orion? The human language is so difficult.
So complex.
Why won't they speak in bubbles like the rest of the universe?
Yeah.
Bubbles are simple and beautiful. Human words are convoluted and confusing. Damn it! Phone's up. Is this Gary Sudbrink? Please speak in bubbles. I can't understand you.
The most confusing thing is our researchers have shown they have bubbles and don't use them to communicate.
You're never going to believe this. They give them to their children.
The children are master communicators in bubbles.
It could just be that this is maybe like an MIB's first day on the job.
Right.
He's like just learning to speak human, but he has such a tenuous grasp on the English language, the human language, that he's just saying everything wrong. It takes him like 16 questions to understand one answer.
Yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous, but you should have seen me in GCSE Spanish.
Yeah, we never got there, really.
I probably said mi amo Rory 19 times in my oral exam.
In the same, and I was so tired and going through a weird stage of puberty, kind of, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Yeah.
She's just like, what? ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Me gusta hamburger.
What about hamburgers?
Me gusta hamburger. All right, yeah, no, I get that. You like hamburgers? Me llamo Rory. Yeah, this is Rory.
Oh shit. So accurate.
So, yeah, it doesn't actually, this is a real possibility. If it was an alien or a man in black who is an alien, they just don't really know how to speak English. And this is them trying their best. Now let's get on to the section of the podcast that Kit is just gonna love.
No, I just was vaguely curious.
Oh, he's been waiting for this one. He's been I saw him put his AirPods in at one point of the podcast. He had me tuned out.
The video viewers will understand I've been very respectful and interested all throughout.
That's great. As soon as he heard he wasn't getting those 4 seconds, he was done.
You have so little confidence in the case you are teeing up the fact that I'm going to be so anti any paranormal explanations, but I'm really not. I've quite an open mind.
You just said a lot of stuff about wanting to see like abductions, photos and aliens and stuff. And then the fact that there was only 4 seconds of footage and I didn't even have that. It doesn't shine me in a good light, does it?
Why are you're on conclusions in your own head already?
I'm not on conclusions.
Why do I feel like you're about to reveal like some kind of silver bullet of anti-evidence against the whole thing?
There's no such thing as anti-evidence, all right?
There is. We've seen a lot of it over the years.
There's just other theories.
Anti-evidence is when they unmask the Scooby-Doo villain and it's the hotel manager. That's anti-evidence for the paranormal.
Right, yeah. I usually stop watching by that point. Right. Usually when they've caught the cryptid, I'm like, on to the next one.
Yeah.
And just shoot that one in the head. And then they're like, don't you want to take off the mask? The what? I don't think we should.
I don't know. Was there ever a Scooby-Doo episode where Freddy was like, let's see who's really behind this, and then he tugs the hair of the beast and nothing comes off? I'm like, oh shit.
It's gotta be like a Halloween episode.
It bites Freddy's hand off. Oh!
Yeah, shoot him now. It isn't a man. So yes, anti-evidence, is that where we are now? There are some theories that the entire thing was a hoax.
Yeah, no shit. So
yeah, because now before we get any further down this path,
okay,
I want to say that there are people who have done extensive research analyzing the audio files. There's one YouTuber in particular that did a fantastic job of this. YouTuber Pandox, I believe, was one of the individuals who analyzed this, even taking clips of what Gary said, taking clips of the mysterious caller, speeding up that caller's those samples,
right,
to give it the actual regular tone of a human voice,
sure,
analyzing the two voices and figuring out whether the speech patterns or certain words were similar enough that it could be proven to be Gary's voice.
Right, okay, got you.
And they were two different, I believe, in all the tests that they ran. So if this was a hoax, it didn't seem like Gary was in on it, or at least it wasn't his voice on the recorder. Did the voice have a bit of a New York accent? That's not for me to say. So that is a theory that Gary was maybe not the voice on the phone, but it was maybe a hoax to kind of drum up some publicity or attention, even though, they didn't get a book deal. This didn't really even go any further than these phone calls. It was just a strange, mysterious paranormal event. So that's what we're left with. Could it have been an MIB? Could it have been an extraterrestrial or some kind of bizarre hoax that just has no purpose or punchline?
I mean, if we're having to look at the most likely scenarios, and if a hoax is one of those possibilities, I feel like it's less likely that Gary is in on it at all. And it feels much more likely that this is close to something we all grew up knowing and loving, prank calls.
Yeah.
That this is more likely that Gary had absolutely nothing to do with this, that someone knew his number, knew his name, and was like, let's with Gary, used a voice pitch shifter, whatever. These things are pretty readily available. We did also address the fact that there was only a few lines spoken. They also seemed to pretty much then hang up the phone when they ran out of lines, potentially recorded new lines before they called again, and then repeated those lines for the next call. And then it just so happened the freak accident here was that Gary did record it all. And that Gary did tell other people, get his dad on the phone. And then it kind of took a life of its own beyond just a prank call. Because prank calls, like you pointed out, prank calls did only exist for just a bit of fun with friends back in the day. You didn't do it for any reason.
I never got into prank calls. I actually only ever did one prank call in my life, and it basically scared me straight. I was at a petrol station with my family, and while my parents were in paying for the gas, me and my brother went into a telephone booth, and we were kind of like messing around, hitting numbers, looking for quarters in the slots. And he was like, "Hey, I dare you to call the police and do a prank
he went
call."
Straight for the he did the only prank call that's illegal. Like they're all legal except for that one.
And I'd never done a prank call before. I don't think I'd ever used a telephone before. But
Let's do a prank where we say there's been a terrible plane crash on a motorway and that 100 people are dead and you need to send 10 ambulances.
let's call them up and say we're going to shoot the president. That'll be a fun way to kind of dip our toes in the world of prank calls. But as a kid, I was like, the joke's on my brother. I can act cool now and be like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't care.
Right.
Because I know there's no money in this telephone. The phone call's not going to go through. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, baby. A 911. They answered immediately, 911, what's your emergency? I panic. I can't get a word out. I can't believe the phone connected. All of a sudden, I'm starting to replay every spy movie in my head. And all of a sudden, I think they're tracing the call to this telephone
He's
booth.
squealing like Olaf.
So I hung up the phone immediately. I think I probably started crying because I didn't realize that the phone call was actually going to go through. And then I think me and my brother came clean to my mom whenever she came out of the gas station.
No, not necessary.
Yeah.
It was a payphone. They couldn't possibly trace it to you.
We squealed like a canary in the coal mine. We were like, it's going to come out, Mom. It's going to be on the news tonight, so we got to get ahead of it. We called the police.
I love the idea that, they left you at the car. Everything was fine. They came back to the car. You're crying so hard. You're doing that thing where no noise is coming out. You're like... She's like, gee, what's wrong?
They come out of the car and 12-year-old Rory, his head is pressed to the bonnet of the car, handcuffs behind his back. I didn't know it would go through without quarters. And we told her about it, and it was only extra funny because she was so angry with us that she said we had to call back and apologize.
The only thing you shouldn't do.
I was like,
the one thing you shouldn't
I'm
do.
a baby, and even I know that's a terrible idea, to call the police again and be like, hi, you might have just got a call from me, but I wanted to say that was a prank call and I didn't know it was going to go through, and I just want to call again and say I'm sorry.
They're like, Jesus Christ, which one? Was it the call about the murder? Oh no, not that one. Was it?
Wait, so the murder's real? I just called off the hunt. You're like, oh shit. Yeah, that was my first ever prank call, which did not go the way I wanted it to. So I actually never did another prank call again. But I think we've got all the information that we're going to get out of today's case. So we have everything we need to come down on our conclusion. Kit, what do you think about the mysterious phone calls received by Gary today? Do you believe this is paranormal or possibly just a hoax?
I really want to believe them, I would say, because it does have, if it is a hoax, it has just enough of a creepy vibe to it and just enough kind of cool intrigue and vagueness. That's what you need with a good alien communication from another galaxy, is vagueness.
Yeah.
It become double of you. Look to Orion. That's for some reason that tickles our brains.
Yeah.
And tells us that could be how aliens talk. But I think for me, I am too hung up on just the plain facts. These were phone calls. This was human speech in English, pitch shifted to sound lower. Maybe we could stretch our imaginations and say it was aliens on the other line, but there's nothing to suggest that it was.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same with you. I really love this case. It's very similar to some of the paranormal mystery cases we've done before. It really reminds me of First off, emails from the 1500s.
Yeah.
That kind of thing where it's like technology is being used to deliver paranormal messages. Also, the Max Headroom case where Vrillon from the planet Ashtar
Crazy mother named Vrillon.
hacked, I believe, all the TVs in America or something like that and began to broadcast a weird signal. Really cool episode of This Paranormal Life. That's the stuff I really love. You know, when as we move forward in terms of technology, that they're being used to deliver messages. And I actually really like the start of the stories, the strange individuals asking questions, the call from Mike. There's a lot of weird stuff in this that is there's so many layers to it, you know? Like the phone call where Mike said he already talked to Gary, but he sounded like, let's face it must have been this voice, right?
Right.
He was like, hey, Mike, it's me, Gary. And he just told him he was coming to visit. It's so weird. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough evidence in today's story to decide that this is paranormal. It would be too easy to hoax, because you could even argue that like maybe it would be difficult to get your hands on the technology to fabricate your voice. But I think like, wasn't this the time of like the talk box that was popularized through Home Alone, where you could just record and then do weird shit to your voice?
Right.
So really this technology was widely available.
It was. That's why I'll take the lead and give it a no today.
Oh, that is a double no, unfortunately, today in this investigation, but a great story, a weird one, a little bit of a different one. Not in investigating a beast or a cryptid or a ghost, but a tale, a mystery, which is actually some of my favorite stories that we investigate on this podcast. Kit, maybe we need to dive back into the world of prank calls. That can be like a thing if you sign up to Patreon with your phone number. You just never know when it's going to happen, but we'll just call your personal phone at some point and be like, is Michael there? And they're like, yeah, I assume this is Kit and Rory because you're the only ones that would ever do this. I was like, no, this is Jarton.
He's like, all right, so what's up with you guys? Is Michael there? All right.
This really wasn't worth the money because it was on the $100 tier on Patreon. What are you getting back from Bristol? It's like, I don't even live in Bristol.
Yeah, we know nothing about them.
We've talked before. You were really a fan of it, and I think I've had to shut it down multiple times about having live callers on the podcast.
Yep.
A terrible idea.
It's a genius idea, but that I think has been vindicated by several hit podcasts featuring live callers.
What we could do, though, if we want to, in some capacity for a bonus episode or an after party, is you can, I think you can sign up for like digital voicemail so people can call a number, and then if you go on the website,
it's pretty easy to set up.
The recordings are there. So we could have a thing where people call in and tell their own paranormal stories, or, you know, tell us about things that they want us to investigate, and we could listen to some of those on the podcast.
What are you scared of? Just let them speak live. You don't want to let them be. Kit is the man of the people. I want to let people speak. I want to give them the platform, let them speak. Yeah, sometimes it's going to be controversial. Yeah, sometimes it might be bordering on racist. That is just the risk you run speaking to the people.
Shouldn't be, because you can just not do the risk by having it all pre-screened. So that's a fun little thing.
We've gone to our live shows. They're lovely.
They actually are lovely. Everyone is very
Everyone
sweet.
listening is a beautiful, sweet human being with the pure soul and wouldn't say anything controversial. I'm sure.
Right. That's kind of our job, being the ones on stage with the microphones. But hey, who knows? Maybe we'll do something like that in the future. Maybe for a celebratory episode, 300, 400, something like that. Would be an absolute blast. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's episode, even though it was a double no. If you do want to support the show, we've said it before. The place to be is patreon.com. Over there, you can get access to a ton of amazing bonus content. Let's say you're caught up. Let's say you feel like you're listening to the same thing over and over again. All the old episodes. Is Gary there? When are you getting back from Texas? That's what it sounds like when you're listening to old episodes of This Paranormal Life.
I don't know if this is the right sell.
What if
because we're we're offering them more old episodes of This Paranormal Life.
Yeah, but on these episodes, we're saying a bunch of crazy stuff like, look at Orion, there be double of you.
Yeah, also,
Dark side
today's
of the moon.
episode was a hoax. I just don't want to be selling people on a hoax.
Yeah, I was trying to like
And a
thematically
scam.
like plug the
Yeah.
Patreon, linking it to today's content. But now I'm seeing maybe it would just be smart to say that for $5, which is an absolute steal, you can get access to hundreds of hours worth of bonus content. And it's the best way to support the show and everyone that makes this podcast every week.
Yeah, that's an awesome, better way of saying it.
That's way better, I would say so.
And, I've said it before. It's worth noting that when this podcast started in 2017, $5 could buy you a lightly used Honda Civic. It could buy you, in some states, it would buy you a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Now, it buys you an ice cream cone.
Not the ice cream, by the way, just the cone.
Right?
The little wafer at the bottom. Yeah, for $5.
This is probably, I'd say, what, $27 now for if you want cream in the cone.
Oh my God.
And if
yeah,
you want it to
instead
be
of-
iced, you better bump it up to just a Benjamin.
Get a mortgage, buddy.
So it's only becoming more of a deal over time,
It really is. Yeah.
thanks to the beauty of inflation.
That beautiful thing, which means all of our money is worth less than ever. So head on over to Patreon, and for $5, you can get access to it all.
What I'm trying to say is it's never been cheaper.
It's never been cheaper. That's why we've introduced a brand new tier at $150 a month, which is basically pennies, which involves a subscription to a Duolingo course in teaching you how to speak bubble. Kit and I teach you how to speak bubble. And you're going to see some complaints and some reviews of the course, giving it 1 star, saying that they joined a Zoom call where Kit and I
We just
blew
went
bubbles into our webcam for 4 hours straight and then directly charged money from their PayPal accounts. But that's how you speak it. All right? They just don't understand it yet because they haven't had enough bubble experience.
It's called immersion language learning. We
Yeah.
don't speak a word of English on the class. I should say as well, because we were talking about how much it costs. To be clear, in case anyone doesn't want to do the international payment thing, Patreon is all very sophisticated now. Whether you are in Switzerland, in Germany, in Australia, in Zimbabwe, you will get charged in your local currency.
Yeah.
So it is accessible to all internationally.
It's universal, like the bubble.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
So head on over and check out patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. I hope you enjoyed this mysterious, bizarre little investigation that we did this week. And of course, I hope you'll stick around for next Tuesday when we investigate a brand new paranormal tale.
Ciao, bella.
Bye-bye.